What's up, people? I'm gonna just assume I'm live because I do this every time and I don't know when I'm recording or when I'm live. So I'm just gonna assume I'm already live. And hello. This is a very impromptu jump on. I mean, they usually are, but this one definitely is. No, I had no plans of diving on today. But here I am. And yeah, I'm here really kind of to talk about two things that probably will all just connect and relate. But the biggest thing I'm finding right now with the collective um, is this massive unworthiness energy that's coming to the surface. And I mean, I do feel like it's something, most of us have been navigating for some time now. Those of us that are, we'll say, consciously maybe working on our self and our traumas and our shadows and all that good stuff, all of our patterns. Unworthiness is definitely a theme for the human collective. It's something that we've all been programmed to feel. We've all had several experiences in life that validate the feeling of unworthiness. And then on the flip side to that, we are trying to manifest abundance. And I'm seeing a lot of hmm, I don't know, conflict, we'll say, um, just among people in the sense of internal conflict, right? Where there's this knowing that we are creator beings and that we have all of these manifestation capabilities. And mind you, we're manifesting all the time. It's just we're mostly doing it from a subconscious or unconscious place, right? And then we, the human, are like, oh my God, I'm not getting anything I want out of life. But like we as humans are manifesting all the time, realities, everything, right? We are literally manifesting all the time. So my dog has to go out. I swear they do this purposely when I get on. Anytime I have a client, like I let them out before, but no, they gotta go now. That's what it is. Go ahead. Go. Fine. Or they just do it for attention. Okay. Because they know they're worthy of attention. They know their value. Um, but back to manifestation and just how it kind of ties in with abundance and then our unworthiness wounds as people. So if we are walking around feeling unworthy, which, like I said, the majority of us are, and those of us that are working through those energies are working through layers of unworthiness. At least I can speak for myself on that. I've been going through layers of it. And um, if we are, how do I want to say this? This like it just dropped in a session that I had so profoundly. And of course now I get on here and I'm like, what was I talking about? um, so yeah, give me a second to connect. So the thing with manifestation in humans is, like I said, we're mostly doing it from an unconscious or subconscious place, essentially. So we are manifesting or creating from fear energy. That's what it is. We're in a state of fear, lack, insecurity, unworthiness. It's all under the umbrella of fear. And so we are running around in life and thinking that life is happening to us and we're manifesting all the things we don't want to manifest. And how does this keep happening? And like, I'm sure you've heard me and Sam talk about it in other things, but these are the patterns, the cycles that we get caught in because we're humans and we're in a game that created all of these things. And so the soul knows this, right? The spirit aspect of us, the soul knows exactly what it came into. And this kind of ties into the other thing that I was going to just briefly discuss is a video that I made a year ago, exactly a year ago to date, today, that I did share again on my page. And I actually watched it for the first time since I made it. I watched it one time after I made it, and I haven't watched it since. And of course, I was guided to watch it now because here I am a year later, a completely different person, but yet I could also still see aspects of me in that version, right? Of course. But definitely a very different person based on the things that I just experienced for the last 12 months. So, that video, we'll say, sparked or was the catalyst of unearthing a lot of shadow in my life, in my marriage, particularly, that had been coming to light for some time. But let's just say that the video I made was what needed to happen to really amplify the shadow to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore and had to make a very real decision for myself and um, for my husband, my ex-husband, right? Because what we were in was just not good anymore for us. But like most people that are in codependent trauma bonds, we don't know how to break free. And that's okay. Where many of us are learning, and that's part of what this evolution is about. So, um, the video, when I watched it today, it was so just like uh enlightening because there was a lot that I didn't remember that I talked about, and a lot now that has since come to light since I made that video, that I, do remember, and have integrated all of those things into my everyday. But it kind of ties back to I think the last live I did where I talked about like how useful of a tool I have found it is to record ourselves, like whether it's something that we share with people or keep for ourselves, voice record, video record, whatever it is, right? But like basically like a live type or recorded diary in a sense, because it really helps you acknowledge your shifts, your growth, right? Because we tend to get very stuck in the belief that we're stuck, which kind of also is tying into this worthiness thing that I want to just touch on, because that's like what I'm feeling from the majority of the collective right now, is that there is this stuckedness, this belief that you're stuck or you're not where you're supposed to be or you're not further along on your evolutionary path. Like all these are all judgments. Like all of these thoughts, I'm not saying that they're bad, but they're judgments that the human mind has created, and it actually stunts our evolution because we're judging a process that is meant to happen actually very naturally. Really. Evolution is not meant to be forced. It can't be. It's energy. And so it's going to flow at the rate that energy is going to flow. Like that's just how it is. And we don't like that, especially when we're in different stages, I would say, of the awakening. It's like, we just want to rush this along. But it's like, that's the point, is like the journey of evolution is the point of it all. So there's no such thing as like wasted energy or wasted time. Like I just keep hearing that from so many people lately. And I've kind of gone off a little bit passionately. Not like in an angry way, but in a passionate way of like trying to really like pull people out of that belief system. And because it's all victim. It's all a victim mindset. This belief that you're not where you're supposed to be, you've wasted all this time, and right? Like when you start to see the value of everything in life, that is where abundance flows in. That's how this all ties in. But we're walking around judging life, judging the experiences we go through, judging ourselves, judging the people in our life, like judge. Like we are Judge Judy everywhere, right? But like that judgment is again what's creating the notion of feeling trapped or being trapped or not being where you're supposed to be. It's like who's saying you're supposed to be anywhere other than societal conditions, programming, of course. But like who gives an F about that? Like seriously, like it's time to get over that. Like That's the oldest trick in the book, the societal programming that we're just still like, I know it's programming, but I don't want to break free. So I've learned in this journey that the more I see the value in everything I go through, everything, the good, the bad, the in between. And let me tell you, the last 12 months have been all of those things, but there's been a lot of shit show within that. Um, but I surrendered to it. I didn't fight it. I mean, there were, of course, points where, that little internal fighter wants to, you know, put up its dukes, right? But for the most part, I surrendered to what the F was happening because I was at a point in my evolutionary journey that like my higher self had hijacked me and like there was no going back to certain patterns. There was no going back. Again, because evolution is a natural process. And when you surrender to the flow of it, it's amazing how it actually just kind of starts to happen when you roll with it. When you don't roll with it, you halt the flow. And then we continue to manifest from unconscious, subconscious fear states, which are all rooted in lack and scarcity. But then we're simultaneously learning, again, like I was saying before, that we are creator beings and like, oh my God, we can create abundance. Well, abundance, we don't create abundance. Abundance is always there. It's never not there. We create limitations to the abundance. Abundance is literally always there. But again, if you don't see the value of life, and more importantly, if you don't see your own value, that is going to be your determining factor of your external abundance. If you don't see your worth and what you bring to the table in every aspect of life, every aspect, I'm talking right down to even if there's no other human that you're interacting with, but you're just in your authentic state doing you. And doing you could be cooking, it could be whatever, right? Like we have a multitude of interests and things we like to do that we're passionate about. That is serving the earth plane. That's you being in a high vibration and literally amplifying that vibration out to the earth plane. So, like, see the value in that. See the value in everything you're doing every day. See the value in every energetic exchange you have with people, with animals, with plants, with everything. Like, I know that everything's energy. So literally everything talks to me all the time. I don't know how like to not have it have a like, and it's not in a intrusive like people think, oh, like when you're a medium, oh my God, the spirits are like, they're intrusive, like you can't shut them off. And it's like no, it's not even about that. It's like when you understand energy and communicate via energy and translate via energy, you realize literally everything is always talking to you. And so start talking to it because it's kind of cool. There's like a lot in there for you. But again, this goes back to valuing yourself. Because I'm telling you, this unworthiness entity that has hijacked all of us is so enslaving. It is what keeps us in that victim mindset that I made that last live about, like moving from victim to victory. The unworthiness that we constantly feed, and I'll say it's a subconscious, unconscious program running in the background all the time. And when you become aware of it, let me put it this way, when you first start to become aware of it's like whole wicked loud, like so loud. And that's a fun stage of the awakening, because we tend to fall into more judgment in those times because the awareness to all of this is so loud. But now the ego is like, the judgment is just as loud, right? And so like as part of it, we all go through it. Like legit. Again, don't judge it. It's just part of the stages, and like understand that the stages of the awakening process are not linear per se. They are stages that we bounce back and forth all the time, because I believe we're always waking up, or we're always remembering. That's what the wake up is. We're remembering more and more of our truths, and we're remembering what is a lie. So yeah, I just want to see any comments, because the whole point of me doing this too is getting other people to interact. And I love you, Carmen Nicole Hall. She's one of my new friends on Facebook, and we are definitely solstice stars. Okay, she said, I talked to my mom who passed 3 years ago, a past love that died in 2010, and 3 spirit guides almost daily. Yeah, I love it. See, guys, like our loved ones are literally always talking to us. Literally. But we're distracted. We we think it's in our head, right? Like again, we create all these limitations that blocks the communication. And so, they keep on talking, but we just keep on doing the human thing. I love that you talk to your guides daily. Your guides are really an aspect of you. And I've said this in other things that I've made. Um, they're shapeshifter, higher aspects of your higher self that drop in at different times. It's why like we all have like a spiritual army of guides. Like my guides, I have some of my main guides, like my main squeezes, right? But then like they shapeshift, because like depending on what I'm going through, whatever energies I'm navigating, um my human self needs the connection with certain energies, right? And they need to take kind of like a certain form for me to understand the message and all that good stuff. Let's see. She says, I just don't question the messages, roll them away like all the thoughts were mine alone, because they're not. Exactly. It's been so healing. It's so sad. Took feeling trauma to make me go there, but is it? Exactly. I totally resonate with that. I see the value of trauma. Like 1,000%. It is the trauma that has happened in my life, and then my desire to dive into the trauma that has given it so much value. It has helped me heal tremendously. And heal, when I say heal, I really just mean return to a truer aspect of who I am outside of all of the trauma, outside of all of the conditioning and the programming and the ancestral, uh, you know, wounding. So see the value of life, see the value of you. And I promise you, your abundance meter will start to activate, if you will. Again, the abundance is literally always there. It's being able to determine what limiting beliefs, what limitations we've created around our own abundance. And again, a lot of it is rooted in our own unworthiness. How can we be abundant if we don't embody the energy of worth? It can't happen, right? Like it literally, it's contradictory. So the more you see your value, your worth, what you bring to the table, and again, this isn't about how do I want to say this? Okay. So a lot of us are remembering and starting to embody our innate spiritual gifts, our birthright, right? Like the ability to be clairvoyant and claircognizant and all these clairs, clairsentient, clair audient, all these things. Like literally, birthright, all of us all have the same capabilities. Like it's a matter of those of us that are choosing to trust in the capability versus those of us that like don't want to even believe we have that capability. That's literally what's setting those of us that tune in and tap in apart from those of us that don't. It's literally the choice to do it, the understanding and remembering that it is within all of us, and then most importantly, it is the trust in it. You must trust your intuition. The more you trust your intuition, that is how you build it. That's like we talk about, you go to the gym, right? And work out muscles. Well, to work out your third eye, you have to allow it to guide you. Even when the guidance is scary, it's uncomfortable. Most of the time it is, because it's usually encouraging us to do something new. Because what is it doing? It's really trying to help us out of a loop, out of a pattern. So it's uncomfortable, but like that is when you need to trust the most. I kid you not. I know this from experience. And watching that video today that I made a year ago today further validated, like, not only did it show me, like what I was saying before, my growth, it gave me like literally like a live validation of like, whoa, Maria, look at what you just did in those 12 months after that video catalyzed a whole shit ton of stuff for you. It's like, yeah, I knew that, but when you're going through it, you get lost in all of it, right? Can't see the forest through the trees. When you're in the thick of it, you're like, no, I'm evolving, but like I'm also still in a lot of the same patterns. Yeah, like hello. I made my last video, talked about how I got into another trauma bond. Duh. Because I still had a residual pattern that needed to be experienced a little bit more for me to finally be done with it. And that's why I say again, evolution happens naturally. I couldn't force that part of me to be gone until it exercised what it needed to exercise to be done, right? To be done with a pattern, to be done with an old cycle. And really for me it was the cycle of being a wounded healer, of taking on other people like they're a project or something. Like what is that? I mean, that's a wounded healer, but that's not love. That's again, that's very disempowering for the individual that you think you're here to heal, fix, save, protect, right? We all do it. Mine, I'm just aware of, is the wounded healer. Like it's the part that literally just wants to heal everybody's shit, but like I can't, and I know that. And why would I even want to take that power away from someone? Because the power that comes when you heal your own shit, no one can take that from you. And so when I started to realize that operating as a wounded healer was really doing way more disservice to people than helping them, I'm like, well, that's not what I'm trying to do. It's quite the opposite. So what within me is still playing in that, right? And so that's why like I had to experience that second relationship that was in many ways very similar to my marriage. There were still a lot of differences, 100%. It's a different individual, understand that, right? But we as humans have a lot of the same patterns. And, when we're still coming from wounding, we are manifesting the reality that we're like, shit, I don't really want to be manifesting this, but somehow I'm still manifesting this. Yep, because we're still in a wounded, unconscious state that is drawing those experiences in. And so for me, I see the value in both of my relationships that were traumatic in many ways, because they were trauma bonds, they were codependent bonds, so they were traumatic. There's also a lot of love there, of course. How could there not be? I mean, of course there is. We are loving individuals. Just because we are buried in trauma and programming does not negate the fact that we are also very loving. We're multidimensional beings. So don't think that like just because you might be identifying that you're in a trauma bond that means there's no love there. Like in fact, if you are someone that might be starting to come to this awareness, and it's a very scary, uncomfortable like aha moment. I remember when I had it and I didn't want to face it. I talked myself out of it for a long time, right? We love to create our own delusions to keep us comfortable and living in what we perceive to be safety. Yeah. It's really just familiar. It's not safety whatsoever. It's familiar. So the mind has tricked us to it's safe, but it's not the energy of safety. It's familiarity is what it is. So when we are operating from these unconscious places, well, then we're staying in these things and we are creating them with other people, but also understand that that doesn't mean there isn't love there. So if you are someone that is maybe starting to recognize that, You might be in a codependent situation. And again, this goes beyond just romantic partnership. Codependency isn't everything. Um, it's actually a really good opportunity for you and that other individual to grow if you're both at a point where you're ready to face that stuff, right? Like many trauma bonds can alchemize into very loving relationships, right? They're absolutely. But it has to be wanted by both parties, and the intent has to come from a genuine place of wanting to do it for yourself first. This is something that's super important that I touch on too, because this came up tonight, and it's come up a lot just in the last like week for me with a multitude of people. But um, intention is everything, and walking this path of whatever we call it, I don't know. I'm starting like this healing. I mean, healing is an aspect of it, but I don't like feel like it's like walking our authentic path, I guess. I don't know. Walking our authentic path. And so like in order to do that, we have to make our way through all of the traumas that have like blocked that authenticity, that have like caused us to show up in inauthentic ways. And so what I've learned for self and anybody else I have interacted with personally, professionally, client wise, whatever, if you are not doing this work of loving yourself, that's really what this work is, of loving yourself more for you, first and foremost, it's not going to work. And I say that because the intent is not coming from a genuine place of like, wow, I'm actually a worthy individual that is deserving of love. And I'm actually just as deserving of the love that I dish out to everybody else. Right. And so I think I'm going to start doing that for myself, because I'm really starting to recognize all of the ways I do not love myself, all of the ways I self-sabotage, all of the ways I hurt myself. And I can see where that came from. I can see that society ingrains that and perpetuates it and drills it into us. I can see from my childhood where that came from. I can see where it all came from. That's where you start to see, right? And when you start to see where it came from, that's where you have an opportunity to bring compassion to yourself and go, all right, like, yeah, it's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. It's the name of the game. And so when you can see it, first you have to be able to see it to break free. We cannot break free from what we don't see. You like can't. We can't break free from that which we will not look at and what we won't feel, because that is what traps the energy. It's like where we are feeding the delusion, right? Just like I was saying, I fed the delusion of this marriage is not a trauma bond. No, of course it's not. No, nope, it's not. Nope. And I fed that for as long as I could until my higher self was like, you know the truth. Like, face it. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna suck, but you're gonna make it through. And I promise you, you're gonna get to the other side, like, so grateful. And that's where I am right now, seeing the value of all of it. And when I can see the value of things, I simultaneously have this gratitude. Like it kind of just all, it's like this energetic process that happens all at the same time where, oh my God, I see the value of that. I see why that happened. I see the meaning, the reason. And thank freaking God that happened. Thank God I went through that. Otherwise, I would have never learned this. I would have never returned to this authentic part of myself. And so I see the value in my trauma bonds. And because I see the value, I'm actually able to hold in my body, so actually embody more unconditional love for those individuals and for the relationship in a whole, because I see the value of what we were here to show each other and to learn from and grow from. And I have taken those experiences and used them as like these potent catalysts to just like take off and soar home to myself. It's what I've done. Like that's what those experiences taught me, was that stop being so dependent on others. Stop allowing others to be so dependent on you. That is how you give your power away and how you take someone's power away. And see the value of every experience, but see your worth and pour all of that energy back into you. And guess what? When I started to do that, this abundance that I've been told for a few years now was coming my way was right there without any effort, and continues to roll in all different ways. And when I use the word abundance, I'm not just talking about financial. I know that's where our minds go as humans. That's one aspect of it. Abundance is like, it's just fulfillment. It's like overflow of fulfillment. That's what abundance feels like to me. So like I'm so fulfilled right now in my connection with myself. And so that is being mirrored in my connections with all of the people that I'm not even starting to, like I've been here almost a year now. It's wild. But all of the people that I'm getting closer with and getting to know on deeper levels, like that is a level of abundance that far outweighs any money. And I also have that coming my way now, like in different ways that I walked away from all of that because the way in which I was to get it before was coming from, we'll say, a fear-based narrative. And so I made a very solid soul decision back in November to walk away from a lot of money, because I saw my worth and my peace of mind being way priceless. My peace of mind, my peace of body, my peace, period, is way more important than anything else. And I know that now. How do I know that? Because I went through some shitty, hard experiences to come out the other side to go, okay, I got it now, learned it, figured it out, see my worth, don't have to play in that anymore. And so gonna love myself more, because done with that, like done with that narrative, done with that pattern, done with that loop, done with that karmic cycle, and ready to love me even more. How do I keep loving me more? Higher self, how do I love me more? How do I love me more? That is a powerful question to ask yourself every single day. How can you love you more every day? That's the work. That's doing the work. But I promise you, when you ask yourself that, just be ready. Just be ready. Because loving yourself means being 1000% honest with yourself. Not in a shaming way, but in an accountability, integrity, loving, compassionate way. You have to be honest with yourself, which means we have to start breaking the delusions and illusions that we've created to help ourselves feel safe in familiar situations. We've all done it. The earth game is a delusion and an illusion. And that's part of the awakening, and that's part of the uncomfortableness of realizing all that. But then when you like get through that, like, and I don't mean to like fluff that off. That's sometimes years of that. But like when you get through a good chunk of that, like again, you see the value for that. You see the value for that uncomfortable stage of the awakening process. And that's where I'm at. Like I just see the value of everything. I don't see any experience as wasted. I don't see my energy as wasted. I don't see anybody else's energy as wasted. I see us as spirits who decided to incarnate into these human bodies and a multitude of other different things that we've incarnated into. And like we're just here to experience. Like it is actually that simple, but we'd like to convolute it and give it a lot of extra stuff. But I mean that's fun too. I mean that's part of it. So let me just see if there's like a whole bunch of people on here. I finished watching this. Yeah. Love you too. Yeah, this will be well, I mean it'll be on my Facebook page for a little bit, but I think Facebook's getting rid of uh lives after like so many days. So Sam and I do have a YouTube channel, which I've not really been good at like promoting. She's much better. But like check it out, people. There's a shit ton of juicy stuff in there. Like we don't have a ton of followers, which whatever. Whoever follows us gets what they need. But like honestly, like my counterpart there, Sam, she makes some really powerful content that like yeah, watch it, listen to it. She knows what she's talking about. Big time. Um, and I kind of do too, because I really won't talk unless I'm talking about what I know. And what I know is my experience. It's my truth, right? So check it out on our YouTube because I did make a playlist that will have all of our Facebook lives on there. So this one will be on there. So yes, finish watching it later, Carmen. Love you. Thank you for being here. Um, And I just want to see real quick if I missed anything from anybody else. Uh, but I feel like that's really what I wanted to really kind of drill in a little bit was can you all just start seeing your value, your worth? Can you all start maybe seeing every experience in life as valuable? Because it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't supposed to. We're in a game of energy, and energy is going to play out how energy is going to play out. We like to try to manipulate it and shift it, but what I've actually learned is like if energy is going to play out a certain way, it's going to find a way to play out. You can't stop energy. We can't change energy. Like we talk about alchemy, right? And alchemy, I mean, in a form is changing energy, I guess, but it's really like just transforming it into a different form, right? It's not actually like getting rid of an energy. It's shifting. It's what happens when you shift a perspective. It's what happens when you see the value of life and then all of a sudden life starts just like pouring all of this abundance, right? That's what I was talking about before. Like abundance is it is not just money. Again, that is one minute aspect in this 3D game that I understand we have to use because it's just part of what we as a collective agreed to. Um, but anywho, it's beautiful. And money's an energy exchange, right? It's not, again, nothing has to be bad here when you see the value in it. So see the value in money, but beyond the value of the monetary value, see the value that it's a form of energy exchange, right? And so it's a symbol of energy exchange. So it's not bad. It's not, let me put it this way. There's a kind of a narrative that's like, oh, you're not spiritual if you make money off your business, or you're not spiritual if you live in a nice house or you have money. That is BS. It's a judgment. It's a judgment. Newsflash, we're all spiritual because we're all spirits in a human form. We're all spiritual. Now, the degree to which we tap in, tune into our spirit, that varies with each individual. But every single one of us is a spiritual being. So all these like teachings that are like, that's not spiritual, that's very similar to religion, right? That's a collective set of beliefs and we'll say rules and um black and white truths that if you don't follow it or believe it, then you're not you're not it. And that's all limitation, that's all judgment, that's all separation, that is all 3D life, that's all programming. Religion is part of the system. I was raised Catholic. Sam and I have talked about this in our podcast and other platforms, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's just an aspect of control. And it has been sold to us, again, like many things are sold to us, as a guise of unity, community, love, coming together. And really, when you start to like observe and study these mindsets, these systems, you'll realize they're not at all about unity. They're not at all about us returning to love. It's more about separation. So all this spiritual BS about like, oh, you're not spiritual if you do this. You're not spiritual if you drive a nice car. Like, chuck it out the window, people, because let me tell you, it's going to be another limiting belief you grab onto, and it's going to block your abundance. Because again, a lot of people that are spewing that don't see their own value. They don't see their worthiness. They don't see this whole thing as like just an experience or an experiment, as my video that I posted a year ago talked about. It is, the Earth Game's an experiment. We're all just experimenting experience down here. So there's no bad. Are there evil, dark things that happen? Of course. Watch my video from a year ago. I don't deny that. Very aware of that. But because I see the value in it all, I've alchemized my verbiage of it. I don't call it bad. I see the value in it. It was traumatic. The experience was traumatic. I have to acknowledge that. The experiences have been painful, but they've also been super healing. Because that's the duality. That's the two sides of the coin. That's the pain and the healing. One coin, two sides. So see the value in it all. It's what it all just keeps coming back to. See your value, see the value of life, see the value of every experience, and your abundance meter will start galactivating. Like, you'll be like, oh my God, I didn't know all these people were here. Oh my God, I didn't know that I had all of these opportunities to share my gifts. Oh my God, just look at all of these things that are coming into my, look at all these, like, just look at it all. It's all here. And it's like, yeah, it always was here. You've now just come up to a vibration that matches it, right? Anybody that's listened to me knows I say this all the time, but we experience what we're a vibrational match for. That's why all these codependent trauma bonds, it's no one's fault. Literally. Co took two to tango. It's no one's fault. It's energy. And it was vibrational matches. That's why some trauma bonds can become very loving relationships if the people in it want to work on themselves for themselves first. Goes back to, again, if you're not doing it for yourself first, if you're doing it for someone else, if you're doing it for accept, like if your why for why you're walking this spiritual path, or this path of love, we'll say, home to self, if your why is anything other than it's for you, you're gonna have a really hard time. Like a really hard time. You're gonna feel like you're fighting yourself, and you're gonna feel like everything outside of you is fighting you the whole time, because it is not, your intent is not coming from an authentic, loving place. It's actually still coming from fear. It's coming from a place of needing to prove your worth. Do you understand? You're looking for validation. So you don't know your worth. There's a need to prove your worth. When you start to see that you're a worthy individual deserving of love, you start to say, I think I'm going to start healing myself because I think I deserve that. And I kind of think I want to live life with a different lens. right? I think I kind of want to start, I don't know, consciously creating my life, co-creating my life, than feeling like it's always happening to me. So I won't take coaching clients, and I've learned this in my evolution of how I show up for other people. I will not take coaching clients. Now, readings and healings, I'll take really anyone, as far as like if you're open for it and you want it, I'm your girl. I will tell you, if I get repeat clients, I start incorporating coaching within those sessions, because I do not want to be used as anybody's guru, 1-800 psychic. The whole point of me empowering myself is to empower other people to empower themselves. I want them all to step into their own gifts. That doesn't mean I'm not here to support and guide and give some assistance, right? But like, I want y'all to step into your own capability of being able to do this, because like I said, we all can. But as far as coaching, I won't take any client that doesn't sign up merely because they're doing it for them. I've learned. I've had people try to buy coaching packages. That's a good one. So if you're someone that like maybe thinks that's a good idea, for someone, I know where it's coming from, but understand that this work has to be chosen by the individual that's going to do the work. Like, you have to really want to do it, because it's not easy to dig into your darkness. It's not an easy thing. It's very uncomfortable for the human. And so like, it has to come from this internal gumption, is the word I just heard. It has to come from that for it to evolve in a natural way. Otherwise, you're forcing it, and again, it's not coming from love. It's coming from fear. Another kind of way this shows up in our life that is very loud for me right now too, and it's part of my story, is like disease in the body, right? It's like we wait to get a diagnosis of something to then decide, shit, I think I need to change my lifestyle habits, right? I think I need to change my diet. I think I need to like take care of myself. But now we're actually making that choice still from a place of fear, because now like our own kind of mortality and our body breaking is very real, because it's happening. And so now there's this pressure and this like, oh fuck, I gotta heal myself, right? And so there's it's not, again, the original decision wasn't rooted in merely just because I want to love myself more today. It's because, oh my God, I'm riddled with all of this stuff that now like I have to do this. Otherwise, like, I'm going to get sicker, right? So this was something that recently came in for another coaching client. And like, it was very profound, because, you know, we all go through like health scares, right? And like, you know, when we start to have symptoms of things, like our mind immediately goes to worst case scenario, because that's how we're programmed, because we live in a fear-based game. And the medical system has certainly done a beautiful job at helping to amplify that. But the the guidance that like came through was, all right, well, if you're afraid that that's what you're going to get diagnosed with potentially, let's sit with that. Like, let's first sit with that fear and feel into that. And so we did that. And then it was like, they were like, well, I already have like a whole regimen that like I know that I would do if I get that as a diagnosis. I've done the research. I know exactly what I would do. I'm like, oh, beautiful. You're a million steps ahead of the game. So we've acknowledged the fear. Okay. We've acknowledged the potential of it, but we've not attached to it and said that this is the end all be all. It's a potential of a gajillion potentials of what you might or might not get diagnosed with, right? Based on your symptoms. So, okay, we acknowledged the fear, we sat with it, we accepted it as a potential. Okay, now it's a potential. So, like, now what am I going to do in that scenario? Oh, you already have a plan? Beautiful. Your guides are actually telling you start that plan today. Don't wait to go get all of these tests to then be in a fear-based state to start making these lifestyle changes if you already know that these changes are loving changes for yourself that you can make in this now moment. And that was a very profound message that came in because it was something that I found, just like anything I do, everything connects. In conversations that whole following week, it was like, all the same narrative for everyone. And I'm like, oh, this is a beautiful thing. Like, I just had this all drop in with the client the other day. And so this is how we keep sharing the medicine and how it applies to so many of us because we are a human collective going through a lot of the same shit. Maybe different experiences, but a lot of the same human emotions, and a lot of the same thought forms and beliefs, right? So that was profound. So again, when we start making loving decisions for ourselves that are actually truly rooted in love and nothing else, there's no other agenda. There may be other motivators, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm talking about like, there's an internal drive, an internal gumption within you that's like, I am here to live my best life. As cliche as that sounds. It's really what I feel like we're here to do, but we are so caught up in eons of trauma that we do have to make our way through all that before we can live our best life. But right now, I'm going to be honest. I feel like I'm living my best life. And am I going to endure more trauma? Of course. I'm in the human experience. That's part of it. But I'm way more conscious now and I see the value in it. So chances are the way I receive it, this is coming in brilliant, won't even be from the lens of trauma. It won't even be identified as trauma because I see the value in it. It doesn't mean I will be in a delusionary state of like, yeah, this is fine. I've already lived like that. There is no way I'll ever go back to that. This is fine when it's not fine. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about truly embodying the lens of seeing the value of the trauma. So I've alchemized that it's trauma. I've alchemized the story that it's trauma. It's like, yeah, I mean, it was a traumatic event. It felt traumatic, but I see the value in it. So it's actually a gift. My trauma bonds are the greatest gifts that I have allowed myself to see the value in thus far because I see my value after being in situations that all I was always trying to do was prove my worth and my value. And now that I'm out of those and I've reflected on all of the different ways I was trying to do that, I'm like, oh my God, I'll never do that again. I don't have to. I see my value. I see my worth because I sat with all of it. I see the value in sitting with our feels. I see the value in getting on here and being my authentic self. Even if no one came on and no one commented, I don't care because the value is what it's doing for me. It's allowing me to brain dump all of these like epiphanies and like experiences that I go through like every day that like you just sometimes like I gotta get it out there, right? It's a way for me to express myself on a platform that, little insecure Maria years ago would have never even thought about doing shit like this. So like again, it's for me. But when it's for you in a loving way, I'm not talking about for you in a selfish way, but when it's rooted in love for yourself, it feeds other people because it's truth, it's medicine, it's authenticity. And that is what we are all striving to like connect with is our authentic self, but we're so afraid to. So see your value and see the value of life. And that abundance that you're all still trying to manifest literally will reveal itself to you because you've revealed yourself to you. All aspects of yourself, you've revealed it to yourself and you love it all because you see the value in every version of yourself. I see the value of my wounded self 1,000%. That wounded self of mine, whoo, she's holds a lot of wisdom for me. So she's super valuable. She's what has allowed me to break out of the patterns that she had to create to survive. All right. There's other people commenting, so I just want to see this real quick. Hi, Mary. I love you. My children teach me so many lessons. I'm grateful for that. Alchemy on so many levels. Kids are like, I don't have them, obviously, but I've worked with clients that have them. I have nieces, nephews, and kids are so good for that. You're right. Thank you, ancestors. Trauma has been painful for me and my bloodline, and I'm glad I can change the future for my children. I love myself enough to heal more. I'm going to be more accountable. That is a beautiful commitment to yourself, right? Again, it's all about committing to yourself. We can't fully commit to other people or other anythings, like other commitments, if you're not committed to yourself first. That's why, like, this whole, and I'll just briefly touch on this because, like, I don't know, this was coming in the other day and I almost made a video and then I didn't. So, like, it's coming in again. But, like, this whole, and it goes with this. So it's perfect. Okay. So we're all like waking up to like feminine, masculine energy, and like our souls are both, right? We all have masculine, feminine energy. And then we're waking up to, wait, so there's a wounded part of this and a divine part? Well, yeah, in the Earth game there is, because we had to create all this separate stuff to like, make it fun, make it challenging, make it like, let's separate everything to then bring it all back together and realize it's all the same thing. It's fun, right? We're interesting like that. So as we're all waking up to divine union, oh dear God, everybody is still running around trying. And I say, oh dear God, because I was that person. This is not a judgment at all. Like, I lived it. I literally just broke free from it. So, like, I'm not saying this as this, like, I think I'm this all wise being that I've known this my whole life. No, like, I literally just learned this, like, within the last few months. Like, I mean, I've been learning it, but, like, the lesson was embodied, solidified in this avatar the last few months. And I've talked about it. My biggest addiction attachment is romantic partnership. It's because why? Maria's afraid to be alone. So what did I do? I was in my first committed relationship in high school, toxic, wounded, abusive, left that, got into my marriage, literally left one, went to the next, like many of us do. Again, it's not a shaming thing. It's a pattern that we do because many of us are afraid to be alone. And as women, part of our programming is that we need a man or we need someone to take care of us. That is part of like the programming, and part of the male programming on this earth plane is that your purpose is to take care of us, protect us, provide for us, right? And so we created these agreements here that those were the programs that our human self was kind of gonna operate from. And so I understand and I understand where my fear of being alone comes from. No shame in that. I understand why I went from one relationship to the next, and I went 3. Oh wow. My ex-husband does everything in 3s. That's funny. So again, I was in this high school relationship, left that one once I realized it was super not healthy. Dove right into what I thought was saving me, this next relationship, my marriage, right? Because I needed to be saved. My wounded self at that time needed a masculine protector to save me. And I don't really want to, because I don't think it's like, I like to protect people's privacy. So I'm not going to talk about my ex and where he was coming from, but I know where he was coming from. I know where I was coming from. But again, vibrational matches, right? Like we were a perfect vibrational match. I needed to feel protected after being in a very toxic relationship. And I needed to feel like somebody was never going to leave me, right? And so I dove into my marriage when I was 19. We didn't get married till like years later, but was with him from 19 to last year, almost a year ago to date. And then I leave that and I come here. And shortly after being here, I talked about this in I think my last video, but like all my fear of being alone was very real because all of a sudden I was very alone here. I left everything I knew, everyone, and came here and to move somewhere I didn't know anybody. And even though I knew my soul family was here, it was all a whole new life, right? Little scared Maria that was afraid of change literally uprooted her entire life. And so the fear of being alone got real loud real fast. And I got into another codependent bond because that is what that wounded part of me needed. Now, like I said in my last video, I identified it quite quickly into it, tried to course correct with that individual multiple times. But again, it takes two to tango, and I can only do so much work on one side. And so I was realizing the wounded healer part of me was activated again and trying to save this other individual. And we can't. And it was like once I really identified like this is what's happening, Maria. Like, and it keeps happening, even though every time you guys get back together, you make this commitment, it's not gonna happen again. We're back together three times. Three times. Oh my God. Shit. I do everything in threes now too. um it I knew, like I just knew. But I also love this individual. And because of my love for this individual, once I really knew the third go around what was continuously still happening, I was like, shit, I can't keep doing this. Like, this isn't loving this person. I'm literally disempowering them by feeding their narrative that I'm here to save them. Right? Like, and again, they don't think that they're operating from that because consciously that they're saying, oh, I don't want you to do that. But their behaviors and their energy is everything but that. It's needing me to save it, right? And I can't. I got to experience in that relationship the opposite role of what I was in when I was in my marriage. So it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. It was everything that I needed and more. And I see the value in it, which ironically allows me to embody more love for that individual and the experience that we shared together. But this all goes back to divine counterparts. Okay. So we're all learning that there's a divine counterpart. Guess what? It's you. Your twin flame, your soulmate. It's you. If you are a male, this gets a little tricky because nowadays, like, we've got all different genders and avatars. But for just easy purposes, if you are a male in a male body, you identify as male, and you're straight, right? And you're looking for your divine feminine counterpart. It's you. She's you. Your bride is in you. She's part of you. It's the divine feminine that you've suppressed. Same goes for us gals. That divine masculine counterpart you're looking for, it's you. He's in you. Mine got activated last year. Mine stepped up to the plate last year when I left my marriage. It stepped up again when I left the second relationship. It came in and protected my feminine, the way that we females are programmed to look to the masculine to protect us. We have that energy in us. The masculine that is our protector is in us, and it's been suppressed. We've all suppressed both divine parts of ourselves. We've all been no matter what avatar you're running around in, whatever gender you identify with, we've all been operating from wounded feminine and wounded masculine, meaning we have suppressed the divine aspects of those energies. And also understand outside of this game, there's no labels there is no divine masculine, divine feminine. It's all just divine. It's all one. But for sake of the game we're in right now, it's just easier to explain it this way. And it's what we've created down here. So again, this running around trying to find your divine counterpart, like it's you. And I know this now, like without a doubt in my body, because I stopped, I'm not looking anymore for my divine counterpart. I know it's me now. I've activated both of them within me. They are unionized. My divine union is here in my heart. And then it shows up in how I show up because I'm embodying it. I'm embodying the marriage of my masculine and feminine energy. And it's beautiful because I'm not looking for that anymore from someone else. Now, oftentimes when you're not looking for things is when it comes in, right? And I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I also have the awareness that oftentimes, so like now that you're not looking for it, chances are it may come in, right? And just be open. Allow yourself to be open. And I have such an open heart. So and I made a vow to myself after my last two relationships and seeing how closed off those hearts were that I would never do that. I would never allow my experience with either of them to close off my heart. Like my heart continues to open even more the more I expand to all of the pain. So like I have so much love to give and I know I'm worthy of receiving a divine connection perhaps in someone outside of me, but I'm not looking for it anymore. I don't need it. I don't need it. That is like for a female that is believed she will not survive without her husband. Because trust me, that's what I believed. That's what was ingrained in me for many years. And I grabbed onto that belief. I am here to tell you I'm not only surviving, I'm thriving and I am becoming more independent every day. That doesn't mean I'm not open to receiving support from people. I'm very appreciative of it, but I'm not needing it anymore. I'm not in this seeking of it anymore. It's like, oh my God, I have it in me. And I also, because I also do know like my human limitations. I know when to ask for help. I'm not this like ultra independent because I think we have trauma responses. I think people can be ultra independent that is rooted in a trauma response that comes from like, I don't need anybody. Um, and I know that one well. Um, and that's a trauma response. That's like cutting everyone and everything out and like not being open to receiving anything. Um, and that is also very limiting for us. So like I've knowing that there are two ends of the spectrum and knowing that I was the opposite end, I've worked very hard at balancing and not becoming like this ultra independent where like F everybody, I don't need you. Like, no, I'm very appreciative of assistance in whatever way, that it resonates. And I will absolutely ask for help when I cannot do something. Um, or I will ask to be taught. And that's like the kind of new stage I'm in where like I'm instead of having someone do something for me per se, it's like, can you show me how to do it? And then I can do it. And then like if I need your help, I can still but I need to know I can do it because I need to know I'm still not coming from a needy place. So the divine connection that this trying to find your soulmate, is the man of your dreams coming, is the woman of your dreams coming, like and I say it like this because again it's just such a played out thing that we're all still like enslaved by because this is what a lot of people come for readings about. And every time the message comes back to like it's actually about like you anchoring that divine union in within yourself first. And then like your external mirrors, they're gonna show up. And there's gonna be more than one because we live in a limitless realm. You don't just have one soulmate. I don't believe in twin flames. I just experienced that whole thing helped me remember my original belief of not believing in twin flames, and I almost shifted that in my last experience. And I know where that was coming from. It was like I was trying to make myself believe something that like I had already kind of come to an understanding of what twin flames are. But again, I was wounded and I needed to believe in something outside of me. But now, because of those experiences I've gone through and I've walked away from them because I saw my own worth and I saw the value in the other individual and I want them to rise to their freaking power. That's what this is all about. I'm not here to save anyone because I want everyone to rise to your own power. We're here to help each other, but we help each other by reminding each other that you're here to save yourself. And then when you can embody the energy of trust for people that they can do it, that is the most loving thing we can do for each other. That's helping each other. Not seeing all of their incapabilities and feeding their fear narrative and feeding, oh, they'll never be able to do it. No, it's being able to see their light and know that they have the tools, that they absolutely can do it if they so choose. All ends up coming down to choice because at some point we become conscious to what's happening. And so now it's choice. I just want to see real quick. Felicia said money is neither good nor bad, it's how you use it, using those terms loosely. Yeah. And that's everything. Like how we use stuff is our intention. Like how we use things is what's revealing what the behind the scenes intention is, right? So money is not, it's just a tool here that has been manipulated and used to enslave us and control us. But if you can shift from that and just see it as an energetic exchange and start using it like that in your life, it doesn't matter what the powers that be are using it for. I mean, it matters, but it's like we can't change that. But it's accepting that it's part of the game that we chose into and saying, all right, so how am I going to shift my perspective of money and abundance and just the energy of abundance? Oh, it comes down to my worthiness. Oh, it's what it comes down to. So, like, I see all these things all the time, and I get emails like all these classes and workshops on abundance, on abundance, on abundance. I'm here to tell you that literally the Cliff Notes, the short answer is anchor into your own self-worth. And you do that by learning, cancel the word learning, by remembering how to love yourself, all aspects of yourself, all aspects of everything you've been through. That's how you start embodying worthiness. And then you start to look out and go, oh my God, everything has value. Like everything. So, moral of this story is nothing is wasted. Time, energy, anything. There's no such thing as wasted. And I also don't believe that also goes hand in hand with my belief of like nothing is a mistake. Again, it's all just experience. And what we take from it is what we take from it. It's really what it comes down to. So I think I've yapped way long enough. Lauren Wren Johnson says, yes, life is abundant. Yes, it is. Lauren is another new friend of mine on here. I'm all these soul sisters are just like coming into my realm. And I'm gonna say they've probably always been wherever they are, right? But they weren't in my realm and I wasn't in theirs. So it's a perfect example of vibrational matches. And when you become more authentic and start sharing that, other people are inspired. Other people who are also doing that gravitate because they're like, oh my God, you're my people. Yeah, I'm your people. You're my people. And I love you all. So know your worth, know your value. And that's all I've got in this hour and 14 minutes. Jesus, can I go on? But that's it. I love yous, and I do this every time. Never know how to stop recording or getting myself off Facebook. So it's just what it is. This is my authentic